Namaste. Good afternoon, and welcome to our continuing series, Interviews with Disciples and Devotees. And today, once again, we are happy to have Srikant with us. Namaste. Srikant, today you're going to talk on education.
Yes,
You are a student and a teacher
in both.
in the ashram school.
Now, I came to the ashram in 1956. I was at the age of 11, and normally they don't take it in middle like that, but mother said. So my younger brother and my elder sister Ansa, we all three joined the Center of Education in the month of September. So just 2 months remaining. September, October is over, the other session of the. So at that time I knew Gujarati, Hindi, but I knew nothing of English. I had to start with ABCD. But I was a good student always, whether I was in Gujarat or whether I was here. I picked up things fast. And within 2 months after there was holidays, 2nd December program. And next year I had a very good teacher. In English was Richard Pearson. But at the same time I got a very good teacher in French also, Paru Patil, who was later on the registrar of the Center of Education. So, especially arranged by mother and the teachers, since we know no French at all, weekly we used to be having 18 periods of French. So to quickly pick up. Daily 3 periods of French. And the base that I got in French was so solid by Paru Patil that for next 10 years my French was better than English. I preferred to speak in French. And she started within few months, she started reading to us, Three Musketeers in French.
This is the same Parul who is still with us.
No, that is Parul. Paru Patil is expired.
Paru.
Our younger sister is staying just next to Jumur in the corner house. Paru is from Karnataka. This Parul is Bengali. So, once the base in French came out very well, and of course, in ashram school we study mathematics and science in French, and history, geography, things in English. I was a good, I learned drawing in Gujarat. So, I went to Jayanti Lal and Krishna Lal. But somehow that didn't click well. I was very well off with French, and anyway, as time passed, I started gathering both in English and French. And we had good teachers both in English and French. Also in science, natural science, there was Urmila Ben. Richard, of course, was always there in natural science. And a good mathematics teacher also. Then came the situation where mother introduced the new system of education.
Where mother what?
Introduced the new system of education. In the old system, we are in front of a blackboard, a teacher is writing something on the board, we hear it, and then the lessons are given. As in old system, everywhere it goes on. With the new system, the teacher, as in the mental education mother says, a teacher is a helper and a guide. He is not to teach you. Whatever you want to study, you study, and the teacher will sort of help you. And this was a very big problem for the teacher, because a student might choose any subject. And whether the teacher is capable of teaching that subject is another issue, but he has to study before or try and make up always. In this respect, Kirit Joshi was one of the registrar of the Center of Education. He was extremely sharp. He came in the class and he would say, "Any questions?" Now, any questions? What does it mean? It can be anything from the sky. But whatever question you ask him, he will slowly turn round to his subject and he will answer in his own way the question that you ask. So, I came in, as I said, 1956, August. The supramental had come down on 29 February 1956. We just came for 15 days. We had our return ticket also going back to Madras. On the 16th August, we were to leave. But then my elder sister, I was too young, as I said, 11 years, to choose anything, but she felt. So myself and my younger brother, we liked it. We said, all right. A letter was written to mother, and by 2nd September, as I said, we joined the school. Now, one of my close contact was, at that time itself, with Pranab for the first time. Pranab was known to be very, very strict. People were afraid. And he gets angry, he will give you a slap also. During those days, we were learning a mass drill with a half rope, which in Bengali is called chopti. So he gets angry with the chopti, he was carrying, he will hit you. I was very much interested in photography. So that time Vidyavrat was very good photographer in the ashram. So I learned quite a lot of photography from Vidyavrat right at that time. He would call me and then go in the dark room and then. So first my base came from Vidyavrat in photography. Then as we came to by class 7 or 8, engineering was just introduced in our school. And 3 courses were introduced: civil engineering, mechanical engineering, and electrical engineering. We chose, most of us, in beginning general engineering was taught to everybody. And we had extremely good teachers. Teachers like Udar, Vishwanath, Shambhuda, Badulida, Pradyodha. Pradyodha was especially very quiet and calm, and he would speak very little, to the point, and that's about all. And he gave one day a test. And in the test, one student named Vijayendra, totally mathematics, there must be rationality when he's given, from here to here, and you come down to the answer. So your whatever rule of three or whatever you are doing in mathematics, geometry, or it has to be on reason. Vijayendra had done totally false, whatever accounting or whatever he had done. But the final answer was correct. And Pradyuddha, to our surprise, suddenly said, I am going to give him half the mark. He was stunned. What ground? Of all you know, he might have copied from this. I know he has not copied, and that is not the issue. He wouldn't believe that anybody else will copy. That is a great side of him. I am the teacher, he is the student. He won't copy. Since he has got the right answer, long after I understood the argument and the rationality behind it, that time I didn't understand at all. He has got the right answer, I am giving him half. So later on I understood that he thinks that intuitively he has got the right answer. So he is giving encouragement to intuition. So such were the teachers, you understand. They were great teachers, and later on, as mother said that tests, that time the Kirit Joshi had brought in quarterly and terminal test. In the beginning, there were quarterly tests and then there were terminal tests. So, while the terminal tests were going on, there was a message of the mother, which was put up on the notice board of the school. The tests are a very bad way of finding out whether a student has understood or not his subject. These tests should be abolished. And that time we were in the engineering section, and we had Vishwanath Das test which we had to give. We were 6 students, and I think three of us did not appear. So Vishwanath came after the test and giving the result. These 3 have given the test. Why the other 3 have not given the test? Naturally, we didn't want to be impolite, or we remained quiet. But we knew that because mother's message was there on the notice board. All right. So he wrote a very long letter to mother. All these people, they were constantly, talking with the mother, because they are all engineers and high-level management of the departments, be it Udar, Vishwanath. So if they don't like anything, even mother, they will straight away say so. Like Pranav was in the habit of doing, all these departmental heads were in the habit of doing. So, he said, he wrote a letter to mother, how will I know if the student has progressed or not without giving a test? So then mother wrote back to him, Vishwanath, here in our school the classes are very small, it's not like outside. In fact, we were just 6 students. And you should have a perfect understanding by each student very well. And you should understand also that how much they have progressed or not individually. And you want to find out if the test should be, spontaneous, without telling them when the test is supposed to be. And that way you will know they have progressed or not. It should not be a general, test and then questions and all that. And in fact, I remember that normally the terminal or quarterly test, I would start preparing just 3 hours, not many students are very, very much like that. So they would start preparing days ahead. So myself and my friend Kiran Vyas, we would prepare, just 3 or 4 hours in advance and go maybe on the pier, and below on the pier when sit 3 or 4 hours quietly where this water is flowing below, sea water, and then make up what type of questions are likely to come. And 80 to 90% of the questions were according to what we had prepared. Always, invariably. But now it was more difficult because spontaneous test and spontaneous questioning, and teacher knows. So, Vishwanath was a very good teacher. He was a good engineer. But as student, we understood his drawback. He always thought of a building. It must be economical, it must be habitable, it must be convenient, so on and so forth. And after some 7th or 8th place, he would give to the architecture. For good looks, of course you can do what you feel like. And we as student, by that time Auroville project had already started, but even before that also, we wanted, and any of the teachers, any of the people in Auroville would be happy to come and teach in our center of education. Even architecture, Piero and even Roger would be happy to come. But he somehow had he didn't like at all, the architecture side. So that's why we were a little. So finally, when the brochure he had prepared, there was written, a whole section for architecture. So we went to him and said, look here, you have in the brochure, it isn't architecture properly. Why would you not find out means and ways to teach us architecture? So bus next time he came and started teaching architecture what? Started giving talks on Indian temples and their architecture. Now it's a nice subject, but we wanted to learn modern architecture, so that really it is helpful for. And much later on I found out one of his book I opened, Mother's Letter there, Vishwanath. It is true that buildings must be habitable, it must be convenient and this and that, but it must also be beautiful. But that was one reason we never could properly learn architecture. And that habit has continued, as I tell you, to such an extent that till Vishwanath was alive, he would hold on to any building, I'll design, he would not. Person like Anand, if he is put inside, for instance, beautifully he has got ideas. He was there. But they wouldn't bring in anybody new or new ideas. So what I said is, I have digressed here just to tell you that we want the new, but as Sri Aurobindo says, the past hangs about our neck. We cannot get out of the old system. Mother said new education, but the best of the teachers also. Of course it was good that people who were trained under her, like Manoj or Paru or Amitadi, that was a different matter. Not all of them, but few of them were really good teachers. Like Amitadi, for instance, she was my teacher in dramatics. So there were 4 teachers. Initially, dramatics started with Srimai. And later on, of course, Svetlana came. So then there was Amitadi, Jumur. And so 3-4 of us, they taught us really well about dramatics. All the western sides, and then we did the dramas. And I was particularly touched by dramatics because even in Gujarat also I had done dramas. I used to like dramas. The first time I did a drama in 1960 in front of the mother was 21st February 1960. It was a French drama in playground. Was on the subject of Nachiketa. So I didn't know any French. Something I have to mug up and then say something. So there were 7 flames. And I was one of the flame. That the father of Nachiketa was doing a yajna which serves a lot of Brahmins. And they were doing in a very, very. So there were 7 flames and I was one of the flame. Now this I did in front of the mother. Now mothers, this was one thing You think that she looks through you for half a minute or whatever, but she was very quick to catch. Daily morning we used to be having balcony darshan, morning 6:30. And all of us will go to balcony darshan, and you will find that within that short time, maybe 5 minutes or whatever she takes, 5 minutes, 7 minutes maximum, you will feel definitely that she has looked to you directly 3 times. Each one will feel. There are 1500, 2000 people. And each one will get the impression, yes, mother saw to me 3 times. No, it's practically impossible. But yet, this is what she was. So, and she wanted new education, but even our registrar, Kirit Joshi, had no idea what the new education was. He was always trying to do something, yes, new education, but till he was there, and he didn't like others interfering in this thing. Go and tell mother. And that's why I didn't like that registrar either. The mother is saying new education, here is a registrar. He says yes, but he does things which are different. So there was the real person who partly gave the push to new education was Manoj Das Gupta. But Tanmaya. He had a great vision. Now, to follow in education is of course development. So development of what? Well, development of your body physically, development of your life, it is vital, development of your mind, development of your psychic, and development of your spiritual personality. So if you read straight away the books of Mother and Sri Aurobindo, they are words. But unless you practice them, you do not realize what they are. Unless you get in each one of them. So, Mother says that we think that we are one personality, but we are not. We are all these personality. There is the physical being, there is the vital being, there is the mental being, psychic being and spiritual being. Together we form one personality. Now, coming back to the physical education, there are 2 things she said, right from, and she said preferably the physical education should be in the morning for 15 minutes, half an hour. You stretch your body and do. So there are 2 things, the body must be exercised and correction of the defects of the body. So these 2 things she says, like you might have knock knees, you might be having lodices, you might be having pigeon chest. So right at the early age, this is very easy to correct these things by special exercise. Like say knock knees, you stand, normally there should be a gap of 1 rupee between your calf muscle, your knees, your thighs. But many people have bow legs, that the gap is very much between the knees. Some are knock knees, which is very, touching their knees. So the exercise, simple like that, you get bend down and then for half a minute you do 3 times a day, immediately start correcting. So there are many methods of showing how to, and for that asanas are excellent here. So she says to start with, we should start with physical education and vital education. Now, vital education, most of us, wherever all teachers, everybody, we always start with our mental education. We are taught by language, science, mathematics, this, that. Whereas she insists that you should start with physical education and vital education. Now, vital education we hardly understand also. She says vital education, training of the senses, and changing your character. Now, this is, unless it is really each one, whatever the character you have, even let's say it's impossible to change. Like Wordsworth says, child is the father of the man. Whatever you are, that character you have. So, changing of the character is one of the most difficult thing. And so for that, really the example each teacher or each person has to do. And she gives a very beautiful story about this. Abu Bakr was a very pious man. Everybody in that village loved him. And everybody said that he is a very, very quiet man. He has no quarrel with anybody. So among his friends, they were talking. One of the friends said, we will test him, how good he is. So he invited Abu Bakr to his house for a lunch. So on a particular day, particular time, as Abu Bakr came, immediately this man, Limay, and he said, oh Abu Bakr, I'm sorry. Really very sorry. I had to go out, I have just come in, and I had not even told my wife properly, so nothing is ready. Would you kindly excuse me, and maybe after 2-3 days we'll fix up again. It's all right, Abu Bakr. After 3 days when it was fixed up, he came, my wife has suddenly fallen ill. So today we can't have it. So like that 3-4 times he did, and every time Abu Bakr went and came. And but 5th time he came, Abu Bakr, this Limay gave him proper treatment, gave him food, and then told all his friend circle, you see what a class of a man he is. He didn't show his temper, he didn't get angry. So Abu Bakr, next what he said was very interesting. So what is so special about you are talking of me? So what is so different between me and this dog which you have in your house? You call the dog, he comes wagging tail. You give him a kick, he goes. You call him again you kick him, you give him. So what is the difference between me and that dog? So naturally when this story was told in the class by the mother, everybody was laughing. It is a funny story. Now mother asks a very important question. Did this man have anything lacking in him? And if so, what is it? So naturally, it was a question. If I were to ask you this question, what do you feel? Nilisha, what do you think?
He did not have courage. He did not have courage to speak up for what was happening.
Maybe this is one aspect of it. But there is also another aspect. That basically the strength of character. You are saying correctly, but the strength of character. Can you imagine that you can play this trick with Sri Krishna, for instance? You call him immediately. Anybody who has got own personality will say, what is this nonsense? So, mother says that this man lacked in him the strength of character. And that's why everybody treated him as they felt like. You must have your own character, you must have your strength of your character, and you must stand on your character. So, at the same time she says that this, to really the development of the strength of character is one of the most difficult things to correct. And it's very hard to correct. You have to be very, very cautious. There comes the moral nature also. So, the vital nature, changing of the vital nature. Of course, she says development of the senses. So, development of the senses is you are taught to see properly, to touch properly, to smell properly, to hear properly, to see properly. Now, just seeing properly would not, what is meant by seeing, hearing and all that. So, Shrobindo, very beautiful example he gives is that you take a flower and then slowly, and without telling that you are teaching, the principle of science, you completely each petal, what type of petal it is, what softness of touch it gives to you, what is the type of smell. In fact, mother gives the significance to the flower. She has got 800 or so odd flowers. She has given significance. I don't know if you have seen the book of flowers.
900.
900, all right. You are working on that, I know. So 900 flowers, and when asked to her, how are you giving significance? Do you remember what she says?
She feels the vibration of the flower, and through a mental approximation, she's able to give us the significance.
All right. She also speaks of the smell.
Yes, she said it was largely the fragrances that made me start naming the flowers.
Correct. So that fragrance, my Lord, if you have got 5 different flowers and you smell it, you would not remember which one's the smell. But you remember the fragrance of 900 flowers, the next time you get the same flower, the same fragrance, and then you say the same significance. It's an impossible task. So, development of the fragrance, it is that training of the senses. Like say for instance, I learned from Richard. He would be listening to birds and all that, and especially crows. So I learned from him different crows making the sound. I can even today immediately say whether it's a male crow or a female crow or a small crow. And I also learned from him that half an hour before rain is going to come, the crows, it might be a clear sky and yet you will know whether rain is going to come or not. So the birds give a far greater, so development of the senses in a true way. Hear properly, sound. That's how the basis of the music is given right at before. That's why songs are very important when you are children. So unconsciously, but in your mind, you must be very clear what type of that vital. So training of the senses is one side, but at the same time, as I said, change of the character. Now here, the vital is built up basically of emotions, the lower emotions, the higher emotions. So the races in India, we have Bengalis, Gujaratis, Tamil and all that. The most developed emotional at higher level are the Bengalis. And you will find that the poetry, I know Gujarati, I have read thoroughly the whole literature of Gujarat right from beginning till end in prose and poetry. But when I study the Bengali literature, I know it is far superior than Gujarati literature. Especially when it comes to the poetry. Rabindranath Tagore or Michael Madhusudan Datta or all that prose writer of Bankim Chandra, Chandra Chatterjee. Now similarly, so the vital in them has developed a lot. We Gujaratis, we have a certain, of the lower vital side, the beauty aspect, that's why our houses are very beautiful, clean. So that way we are more advanced. Materially we are very. But as I said, from the Indian point of view, vitally, and that is why the best of the people, those who have come, whether it's Swami Vivekananda, uh, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Ramakrishna Paramahans, even Sri Aurobindo is from Bengal. Right? And of such height and such this thing, though, it is true that we have, Tukaram or Narsi Mehta or in Gujarat, everywhere India is known to have great saints all over the world, but not of this height. Alright? In fact, about Ramakrishna Paramahans, Sri Aurobindo says, what does he say? With the advent of Ramakrishna Paramahans on the earth, Satya Yuga has already started. Alright? What is remaining is now just the tail of Kali Yuga, which is slowly going. So, such great personalities we don't have. In Gujarat also you will find many, many great saints. Every language you will find. But not of the level of Bengalis. Similarly, the mother aspect also is from Bengal. Everywhere else we get, but the truly mother aspect, Durga, and all, get a lot from Bengal. Same thing regarding in the Western culture, the emotional aspect and higher emotional aspect is there in the French blood. Alright? So some of the great, this thing also, that's why also have got French blood, like Divine Mother is from the French blood. So that is why in our school also, the French teachers were the people like Tanmaya. They had this heart opening and Mother could work through them. And that is why Tanmaya, the basic idea of how to develop the vital, otherwise it's most difficult to develop the vital that unless you yourself have a vital which is open. And then in the vital aspect, there is the love aspect, Shringara. There is the aspect of the heroism, Veera, Karuna, very sadness, Hasya, you got laughter, dangerous, Bhayanak, very ugly, Vibhatsa, Raudra, that is anger, and their quietness, Shanta. All this the Sanskrit literature has analyzed it extremely well. So how to develop these things in you and how you are going to correct these things. So this vital education is really the most difficult thing and the true aspect of the. So vital education, you also have to remember from an occult point of view, there is the mind and we have the center mental being which is the center from the occult body point of view. There is the vital which is in the heart, There is the physical. So as we go in Kundalini, Shakti, whatever is given, 7 parts shown. Sri Aurobindo adds 3 more to those 7. He adds one in the knee, another in the leg, and one above the head. Right? So he makes 10 centers. The knee, he says, is subconscient. The right below the feet is inconscient, and there superconscient. And used to always, that's why Champakarji, all these people say, you have to really concentrate above your head and the superconscient. Now, so old yogas have taught us, that you start, the Kundalini starts from Muladhara till Whereas in the new yoga with mother, and she was always insistent that education should start right from the beginning and should go right through your life. I mean, till the end you should be constantly learning. And our normal tendency was in the old, there is the brahmacharya ashram when you learn, then there is the grihastha ashram, there is the vanaprastha ashram, and then there is sannyasa ashram. At the end, you look for God. This is why when you don't have any energies at all, when you are old, you start looking for God, which is the most difficult thing to get. Right from your childhood, you have to start looking for your psychic, and here we have to learn that. So here, the children have to be taught right from the beginning to look for your psychic being. And therefore, physically, Tanmaya started Sal de silence, that is, a silence room. For each section, there should be a silence room where a student goes in that class, nobody has got the right to disturb him. Even if he has fallen asleep, that's perfectly all right. So, precisely in such a place where he is totally silent, he will close his eyes and start thinking. He will think of meditating for a small while. Otherwise, give mentally the idea, it doesn't work. He doesn't like the child. So, how you should start slowly, a very, very young age. Now, Tanmaya had got that vital was very open, and that's why all his visions about education, mother was tremendously appreciative. Right? So his vers la perfection, I remembered one of my nephew was a student and he wrote to the mother, Abhisesh, mother, so many people are telling me so many things. Should I go to vers la perfection and study under Tanmaya? And mother's answer was very, very clear. That going to vers la perfection is the best thing that you can do. Go and join that section. Today that Abhisesh, he left halfway here. He and his wife are in Dubai, right? And they have developed a Dubai International Academy there. And the best of he and his wife Poonam, the best in the schools in Dubai are by Abhisesh and his wife. There are 1,500 children. Now, so looking from the vital, especially the higher vital, as I said, the occult body, just behind the higher vital is the center of the soul. So even neighbor-wise also, the higher vital is the closest to soul. So if you develop your vital being properly, then it's easier to get in touch with the soul, psychic being and soul. So here was the whole principle how to develop, that's why the higher vital, which will immediately get into contact with soul and psychic. And Sri Aurobindo very beautifully says that poetry raises your emotions and gets you at a higher level. Painting stills your emotions, but very stilling your emotion, it gives you the pleasure of the seeing in a very limited way things, restraint way. The development of restraint in your nature. So painting stills your emotion. And music deepens your emotions and harmonizes them. Together, they are an ideal education of the soul. See, now you start getting practical ideas to how to develop your psychic being and the soul. I think we'll call it a day.
Good. Thank you.